Welcome to our video set on optimizing your PC. In this video, we'll explore the defragmentation and check disk utilities. In the previous video, I detailed how important having sufficient disk space on your hard drive is and how you can free up more disk space, particularly on the C drive or the main drive of your computer. That's the drive where Windows is installed and which is accessed the most. But you can also help speed up your drive, and when I say speed up your drive, don't think of it as how fast they spin in your computer. You're speeding up how quickly data on them can be accessed. And again, more free space means less searching required, so that can help. But also, there are a couple of utilities that come with Windows that can be very useful as well. And one defrags your hard drive, which basically means defragments or tidies it up. For example, if your hard drive is quite full, and let's say you're installing Microsoft Office, which takes 200 megabytes, and let's say your hard drive is so full that there isn't a single 200 megabyte space on your drive. There's more than 200 megabytes available, but there isn't 200 megabytes of free space next to each other, if that makes sense. Maybe a way to think of it is to think of your hard drive as a tabletop, and you have information on small cards, and you're putting these cards onto the tabletop. Ideally, all the Microsoft Office cards would be next to each other, and all the Windows cards would be next to each other, so it would be easy to find what you need. But often, as you install software and as you remove software or delete files, there are gaps in the tabletop, and there's space available, but it isn't all next to each other. So the defragging really tidies everything up so the related software is put next to each other. So using the example of the tabletop, all the Word cards are moved so they're next to each other, and all the Excel cards are moved next to each other. So you have the same amount of disk space available before and after. It's just that all the disk space is organized afterward in a much better way, which helps Windows find and access things a lot more quickly. That's what defragging is. And you can also use a utility called check disk, which essentially checks all of your hard disk and makes sure there are no issues. Those are all accessible through the Defragmenter utility is available through Start, All Programs, Accessories, System Tools, and Disk Defragmenter. Okay, here's the main screen, and it lists all the hard drives, both the internal hard drives and external hard drives. The two internal ones are C and D, and I have here a G drive. Okay, file system, NTFS. You don't really need to worry about it. NTFS stands for NT File System, which is a way of organizing information on your hard drive. And the older system is FAT, and there's also FAT32, File Allocation Table. But you don't really need to worry about that. But FAT and FAT32, those are older data organization systems. Generally, you want NTFS. Okay, capacity. That's telling you how big the drives are, how much free space, and free space as a percentage. Then estimated disk usage before defragmentation and after defragmentation. First of all, we want to analyze. So choose the drive. So click on the drive you want. Let's go with C drive. Or rather, let's go with D drive in this example, and choose Analyze. Okay, analysis is complete, and you do not need to defragment this volume. I could still go ahead if I wanted to, but I'm not going to in this example. But let's look at the visual representation of how it views your hard drive. You could view report if you wish, but as I said, it doesn't think I need to go ahead with the defrag. Now, let's do the same for C. So click on that and Analyze. And a different message here, you should defragment this volume. So I could go ahead with that if I so choose, but let's not in this instance. And that's how it looks, considerably messier than D drive. And actually, there's a key here. Red are fragmented files. Blue are contiguous files. Green are unmovable files. And white, free space. Basically, this will be a lot neater after you've done a defragment, and it makes your hard drive a lot more organized and means that Windows can access things a lot quicker. It is suggested that you do a defrag, maybe leaving it running overnight because it can take quite a while. And if you want to be ultra cautious, maybe do a backup of important files just before you do a defrag, just in case something goes wrong. Obviously, nothing should go wrong, but it doesn't do any harm to do backups, but that's something to think about. But it will take a while, so leave it running when you may be away from your computer for a while. And that's how you can defrag your hard drive, a very straightforward process. And I do suggest that you analyze your hard drives with this utility, perhaps every month or so, and see if you want to go ahead with the defrag just to optimize your PC that little bit more. And through My Computer, if you select any drive, and let's go with D drive again, right-click and Properties, here, and actually you can access Disk Cleanup, which we touched on in the previous video, directly here, or you can go to Tools, and OK, Defragment we've already touched on, and you can actually access it that way. It's the same utility, this is just a different way to get to it. Or Error Checking. This option will check the volume for errors. It's a quite straightforward utility, as you can see, but very important. Automatically fix file system errors. Probably a good idea. Scan for and attempt recovery of bad sectors. Those are bad areas of the hard drive, also a good idea. And again, this can take a long time, so I'm not going to do it now, and it requires sole access to the hard drive. So don't do anything else while you're running this check disk utility. So really, stop and just leave your computer till it's done. It's something else you can do overnight. So the defrag utility is really more of an optimization utility, whereas the check disk utility doesn't speed up your computer, but very importantly checks if there are any errors on your hard drive and tries to resolve them. And if there are problems on the hard drive, it also marks them, so those areas are avoided in the future to help you from losing any data. Obviously, data saved to a bad area of a hard drive can be lost. So the check disk utility is very useful to do once a month or so as well to make sure there aren't any problems with the hard drive on your computer.